Today, I will talk on modernism. With the arrival of T.S. Eliot in the modern period, literary theory acquired a new significance. T.S. Eliot says, poetry is the most highly organized form of intellectual activity. He is of the opinion that the poet and the poem are two separate things, and that the feeling or emotion or vision resulting from the poem is something different from the feeling or emotion or vision in the mind of the poet. He further states, poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. The emotion of art is important. Two phrases of Eliot's objective correlative and dissociation of sensibility have aroused great interest in the realm of literary criticism. Objective correlative is used by Eliot to describe how emotion is best expressed in poetry. It cannot be simply transmitted from the mind of the poet to the mind of the reader. It has to turn itself into something concrete. The object in which emotion is thus bodied is its external equivalent or objective correlative. Eliot says, expressing emotion in the form of art is by finding an objective correlative. In other words, a set of objects, a situation, a chain of events which shall be the formulae of that particular emotion, such that when the external facts are given, the emotion is immediately evolved. Eliot's theory of objective correlative reminds us of Aristotle. Like Aristotle, Eliot feels that it is not the business of the poet to present his emotions directly, but rather to represent them indirectly through the objective correlative. Mallarmé observed that poetry is not made of ideas, but of words, and explored the potentialities of words as modes of evocative suggestions. Ezra Pound remarked, poetry is a sort of inspired mathematics which gives us emotions, equations, not for abstract figures, triangles, spheres, and the like, but equations for the human emotion. The phrase dissociation of sensibility occurs in Eliot's essay on the metaphysical poets. He makes use of the phrase to pinpoint the fault of the later 17th century poetry. The opposite of this phrase, which Eliot uses, is unification of sensibility, which according to Eliot means a direct, sensuous apprehension of thought or recreation of thought into feeling. Such fusion of thought and feeling is good for poetry. Bad poetry results when there is dissociation of sensibility, that is, when the poet is unable to feel his thoughts. I.A. Richards is one of the major critics of the modern age. According to him, is a system impulse. By poetry, Richards means not only verse, but all imaginative literature. He says, much that goes to produce a poem is of course unconscious. Very likely, the unconscious processes are more important than the conscious. But even if we knew for more than we do about how the mind works, the attempt to display the inner working of the artist's mind by the evidence of his work alone must be subject to gravest dangers. Richards is of the opinion that communication is inseparable from poetic experience. There are two types of languages, referential or scientific and emotive. While science makes statements, poetry makes pseudo-statements. Poetry speaks not to the mind, but to the impulses, and its speech, literal or unliteral, logical or illogical, is faithful to its experience, to the context to which it induces or like experience in others. Richard's analysis makes it clear that even in a scientific work, poetry has an important role to play in the life of individual and society. He considers knowledge of psychology an essential element to literary criticism. The primal concern of F.R. Leavis is culture. F.R. Leavis says, we might, in a healthy state of culture, leave the citizen to be formed unconsciously by his environment. If anything like a worthy idea of satisfactory living is to be saved, it must be trained to discriminate and to resist. Literature matters vitally to civilization. Lewis breaks the old traditions of criticism and makes a new one. F.R. Lewis, a liberal humanist, debated the relationship between literary criticism and philosophy through his journal Scrutiny. He says, philosophy, as we say, is abstract and poetry concrete. Words in poetry invite us not to think about and judge, but to feel into or become, to realize a complex experience that is given in the words. They demand not merely a fuller-bodied response, but a complete responsiveness, a kind of responsiveness that is incompatible with the judicial one eye on the standard approach suggested by Dr. Wellek's phrase, your norm with which you measure your poet, the critic, the reader of poetry is indeed concerned with evaluation, but to figure him is measuring with a norm which he brings up to the object and applies from the outside is to misrepresent the process. F.R. Lewis is of the opinion that literary criticism becomes the diagnosis for a spiritual malady. However, Lewis is unclear about the kind of ethical philosophy and human potentialities. The basis of his moral sentiment is apparently not religious, it is probably pragmatic. The critical theory of the post-war period comprises a series of waves. The literary waves are aimed against the liberal humanistic approach, Marxist criticism, psychoanalytical criticism, feminist criticism, and linguistic criticism are the different movements of new criticism. The literary criticism in France approached a new theory, structuralism and post-structuralism. This new approach was concerned with matters related to language and philosophy rather than history or context. Finally, in the 1990s, the wave of post-colonialism rejected the universally applicable Marxist explanations. Peter Barry says, postmodernism stresses the uniquely fragmented nature of contemporary experience. Feminism too shows signs of dissolving into a loose federation known as gender studies, with gay and lesbian texts emerging as distinct fields of literature. Today I stop here, so tomorrow I will begin with postmodernism. Thank you.